that are very important to our generation, to our time. So in a series that I'm speaking on the COVID-19 in relations to the biblical topics such as the end time, the last days, and also the so many important issues in the book of the Daniel and Ezekiel and the Revelation. Tonight, I'm going to share with you on the New World Order with secret societies. So in order to share with you this, and let me begin some of the introductions in order for us to understand, go deeper knowledge of that. First of all, the first question we think, why is COVID-19 important in our generation in understanding of the biblical knowledge about the end time and the last days? Number two, is it real to connect with the New World Order, or so to say one world government, or satanic kingdom? And that's number two. Number three, so what basis are you talking and are you delivering this message? So what reference can you give? So these are the three things, biblical references, and also the documents and other literatures as well. So let me begin from the first one. Is COVID-19 closely interrelated to the end time? Of course, we don't know. Actually, I never said that this is a conspiracy. I never said that this was actually created to do. But as we see, all those results and consequences in our time, and we are seeing that the world is changing. Like Yuval Harari says that the world is changing. The COVID-19 changed the world. So we have never seen such a things in our time. This is unprecedented. And therefore, what kind of changed the world? We have never seen the school closed, the cities closed, and all the countries knocked down, and not only knocked down, locked down, and also the closing of all the storefronts and the manufacturings and offices and schools. And even the individual lives, except some of the essentials. But in case some country, they are not attainable to have the essentials as well. So they are starving right now. So this is unprecedented things. And then what we are seeing, this is one common thing, whole world working together so closely. What is that? Number one, it's like following the instruction of WHO, the World Health Organizations. We want to stop the virus to spread out. We want to stop the speedily expansion of the virus in order to slow it. And we want to also save the soul. So that's the common denominator. So we understand that on the basis of this common denominator, the people follow the government order. And then as we study on this phenomena, there's one denominator in each country, because the virus can penetrate all of the world, and the whole world follow the one direction. So what is it? So when you follow the one direction, there's something behind of it. 2019, there is another consortium in New York were held, and then actually they talk about the expansion of the virus. And also 2015, it says that the Agenda 21 actually talks about the spread of different kind of epidemics. And even 1992, the UN talks about depopulations and the virus issues. And actually that was long ago. It's actually discussed, and it was actually deeply concerned. And what happened? After that, when coronavirus started, and all of the world, each country in the United Nations, and every country follow the same instructions from WTO. The WTO is under United Nations. United Nations is under something we call the certain schemes like Agenda 21 and others. So it is a very planned, it's a very pre-planned, it is a very, very timely executed. Number two, our enemy before was like the other country. Our enemy before was another kingdom. nowadays global village, no enemy at all, but we have same enemy. United States of America can targeting the Iran, but Iran has same enemy. It's not the United States, that's a virus. So the Muslim country, Christian nations, and each country, any country, we have one enemy, that's a virus. This virus can penetrate into any country in the world. So we have to be united and we have to work out together. So in that sense, this virus causes a lot of problem, more than ever we experience in the peacetime. So even, actually destroying our educational system, the societal system, social life, individual life, the communal life, and in the national, international lives, and trades, and traveling, and all those things we mentioned. So this virus is not like the MERS before. This virus is not like Zika virus. This virus is not like SARS before, because this is more global things, not the regional things before we saw. So this common virus, but which is called the COVID-19, coronavirus 2019, is actually changing the system and order of the world. So, whether it is intentional or unintentional, we are seeing these all consequences right now. So, as we're looking at this is number 2, we have to looking at, we are seeing the changing the world. We are seeing the changing government. We are seeing the changing order of the whole society in the world. That's what Yuval Harari, Henry Kissinger says, that the global village experiences unprecedented things, and the world can be divided into before coronavirus 2019 and after. Totally our day is changed. And then as Christians, how can we perceive these things? How do you understand? And then number 1, what does Bible talks about this? Number 2, how do we discern this COVID-19 in relation to the end time? Number 3, what is closely interrelated in the traffic underneath of global, actually, second coming of Christ? Therefore, I begin my lecture in giving the answer each by detailed subject under the COVID-19 series. So, brothers and sisters, so this is the one today I want to deal with the issues on the New World Order and secret society. So I hope that I never said that intentional, unintentional, the COVID-19 creation, but however, I just want to looking at the every phenomenon, every phenomenon right now, and in each continent, in each country that we are seeing right now is actually deeply concerned in the Bible. So when we think about this, there is very close relationship. So tonight, let me begin with these issues, the so-called New World Order and the secret society. I think that at the end of the last week, the sessions that I talk about, a little bit about the Adam Bishop and then the New World Order a little bit. So I want to expand a little bit on the basis of your understanding. If I want to do whole, and you may not access this because this is a huge issue. But New World Order and the secret society. So what do you mean by the secret society? Can you tell us? You can freely chat in the chatting room. You can just give your you can just unmute if you want to give question. But what are the secret societies? Okay, the secret society we are hearing right now is very common. Many of us know, whether you can name it or not, the Freemasons, Illuminatis, Bilderbergers, and the trilateral meetings. There are all kinds of the secret society, even the governmental level, CIA, NSA, we have that. So the secret society are closely interrelated to the DNA or the value of the New World Order. But behind the scene, there was a designer, there's a masterminded people. There are some people who design it. So as we expand a little bit, because as I said, that the COVID-19 happening, and when you see that whole governments are ready to receive the one order, and we are changing, and the whole world is changing and coming into the area of the New World Order. So let me begin this. This is, I just want to repeat again what I can share with you. The George W. Bush, on January 29 in 1991, after the September 11. Not the September 11, that's the long after, I'm sorry. But before the junior, so this is the senior. I told you last week, so what is at stake in more than one small country? Please take a look. What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea. I think that as a president of America, he talks about a new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in a common cause. Where diverse nations are drawn together in a common cause. For what? To achieve the universal aspiration of mankind, the humanity. Peace, number one, peace. Number two, security. Number three, freedom. And number four, rule of the law. Amazingly, we can see all those things right now when the COVID-19 happening. In order to bring us into peace, we stop everything right now. Almost everything. Schooling, manufacturing, traveling, touring, many areas of our lives. Security, yes. And then the freedom, the liberty of the individual, and the rule of law. And a world in which there is a very real prospect of a new world order. So many times I just want to use acronym NWO, that's the New World Order. So when he says that people didn't know what is he talking about, and he talks in the House of Representatives, in speeches also in the United Nations many times. I don't want to give the further explanation in order to save our time. So for here today, what you know, in 1991, the Gulf War. You know that the Gulf War, is one of the war. The President Bush started, and actually he said that. Now we can see a new world coming into view. So can you see the differences? A while ago he said that the small country has their own government system. Now every country can join in one world order. That's a new world order. He said now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is a very real prospect of new world order. And then he said that the Gulf War, that put this new world to its first set. So, it's a British Empire and Germany and France and United States of America, the many countries made an ally together and participate in the Gulf War. In this time, this is a new world war hegemony, actually. So many of you remember, New World Order is not a new idiom. It's 100 years long idiom. But it was not well recognized by the global populace. So what is the New World Order? New World Order is creating war, the Gulf War, Persian War, and even Iraqi War, and the Afghanistan War, creating the war. So remember, this was different. The First World War, Second World War, we never did. It's more likely a naturalistic process. But the procedures of the war, it was designed, it was planned, it was agreed, and it created. Number two. As a result of war, what happened? Disaster followed. Depopulation, killing people, destroying a nation's sovereignty, and others followed. And then what happened later on? The pestilence and epidemics spread out. And then, so there is economic control over the petroleum after Gulf War, there is economic control over the nationals and other regions. And then we know the political controls, and then later on we see the governmental controls. So there are control. I told you Agenda 21 is the issue of control. Sustainability means sustainable projects and developments are actually controlled by some of the elite people. The elite society. The elite society also mandating United Nations mandating GATT, WATO, WTO. They are all global the institutions around the world. So it is a controlling issue. So the controlling issue is actually designed by some of the values and norms. So when you're looking at this one, I just want to looking at, together with the biblical parallel, when you see the war, natural disaster, pestilence and epidemics, and sometimes pandemics, and any kind of the plagues, and we are able to see the people starved in the midst of the drought and famines. And then later on, the people died. And then what happened? And suddenly, the tribulation follows. So the death actually, accumulated in great numbers in total. So therefore, war, famine, death always comes together. But war, famine, death with what? Epidemics. So actually, because if I insert, I told you the Matthew talks about war, famine, death. But Luke talks about 4. War, famine, and pestilence. Then death. But the book of Revelation talks about 4. War, famine, and then pestilence and death. But these 4 things are closely interrelated. It's not a separate one segment, but actually it is closely interrelated. So as we're looking at the book of Revelation chapter 6, and we can see these all happening are closely interrelated. However, when you're looking at the book of Luke, 4 things, the book of Matthew, 3 things. So let me give you the list a little more. The first seal, second seal, third seal, fourth seal, fifth seal, sixth seal, seventh seal. So the white horse, red horse, black horse, pale horse. And then fifth horse we call martyr cries out. So there is no horse anymore. And then celestial signs, that's the moon and star, the universe and galaxy, all of the universe are happening. And then, we call seventh seal is at the same time the first trumpet, the blast. So these one, when you're looking at, always read 4 plus 3. The 4 is first seal to the fourth seal, and the fifth seal, second seal, 2 different segments, and then later on, seventh seal closely interrelated with the first trumpet. So when you're looking at that, the Revelation chapter 6 to verse 2 to 8, that's number 1. We call the first seal is the war. Second seal is what actually the violence and natural disaster, and then the third seal we see this one is like the famine, and then later on actually pestilence and plagues happening. So the Revelation closely explain about this. So, okay, let me bring this back. When we studied the war, the Gulf War, Persian War, others, war, and then the natural disasters with the drought and famines. Number 3, the pestilence and plagues and epidemics. Number 4, and many people died. These are the one the Bible closely and clearly and very definitely saying to us. New World Order in the Bible is actually closely prophesied by many prophets in the Old Testament and even New Testament. So we have a lot of this. But however, so let me clarify first what the NWO is. One government applied all over the world. Before we have different tactics and policies and the government rules and others, the constitutions, but because of the common enemy, we have common enemy of the COVID-19. The global village can work together. And what happened? Our enemy is not our neighboring country. Our enemy is out there. So we can apply all together. What is that? One government applied all over the world. That's the common beginning point of New World Order. Everyone should be a slave ruled by the elite class. Why? Because we don't understand much how to prevent, how to stop the virus. Only the key people, those who have power and travel, government system, the hospitals and others, they can decide. Even though I know the little things, but I am not in the position. So if someone has that power, and that power can implement one world order, the one government in the world, to do it, and then what happened? The rest of people will be ruled by the elite society. And we became slaves. We don't have any freedom. We don't have any liberty. You know, same as like in our society, we are tasting this. You cannot go to a European country right now. Europeans cannot come. Why? The government order. We are seeing it right now because we cannot break the rule. So everyone has followed the common order. So let's say the Christians cannot gather together. Why? We are the one transmitting the virus into larger scale. Therefore, we are not allowed to have the larger gathering. And what happened? If the government, one world order, will say that you Christians never have any meeting, and what would you say? We have to think about this. Because this is for the common goods of the humanity. This is the common good of the society. If New World Order will demand and command, we have to follow it. If not, every single individual is to be sentenced or actually under some of the disciplines. This one, number 3. And so we have question, who are the elites? Who are the one designed? Who are the one masterminded? Who are the one actually draw this line? You know, we think about all of a sudden, whole world follow the same direction. But, you know, when we see that whole world work together long before what many people, the elite society designed it. We are seeing it right now. So that's why I'm saying that the COVID-19 gives us the window of seeing the expanded government system right now. If you don't have the eyes of discernment, you don't understand what you are seeing it. Discern the world, discern this time, what's happening, how the world is changing, and how the government system is changing. Everything we are seeing is actually long before designed. So what the elites? And, you know, actually elites coming from some of the design the secret society made before. So the secret societies, there are many secret societies. Why does it call the secret society? Because it is hidden. It is not visible. And that's why a lot of people say this is conspiracy. Because you cannot see it. You cannot recognize this is not a common. But, so if you don't see that, you know, can you say that they are not existing? Same thing, the questions, we cannot see the virus, the COVID, you know, coronavirus in our eyes, and is it not existing in our world? We can say no, because, you know, microscopic view, we can see that. You know, microscope can see it. Same thing, if you closely see with the discern of lies, we can see it. If you have the biblical eyes, if you have the spirit of discernment to see that, and then we will recognize, oh, this is it. But the thing is not the problem of others, or, you know, the problem is not out there. The problem is our eyes. We don't have that eyes. We don't have that discerning spirit. We don't have that kind of knowledge. You know, it just we simply, oh, I hope that the COVID-19 will be died out soon, and that will be okay. And then God gives you the opportunity to understand, but you never understand the whole world. And then what happened? The greater virus happening, and then you will follow the rule again. And then you became enslaved more, you will become more likely enslaved, and then later on, you don't have any freedom. So this is the way that we have to have eyes of the Lord in this time. how the world is changing and what things are going to happen sooner or later. So let me give this, the secret society, one of the illustration is the Illuminati. Illuminati is actually coming out of the Freemasonry. But Freemason was long before the Templar Knights and also the Masons Guilds in the Middle Ages. The Mason Guild is not actually the starting point. There was a connection in the ancient secret society. There are many. So it was not actually, we cannot say when they started, but there, we call at least 3,000 years is consistency in this society. We call the esoteric or mystic, or sometimes we call very secret religion and secret clubs. Illuminati is one of the way they do. The Freemasons also. The Freemason is the very heavy engines, and it's the headquarters of the American government's formations, and the Bohemian governments, and the we call the Austro-Hungarians, and the many European set. So we know a lot of evidences. It's not one book. It's not one evidence. Thousands, probably millions of the evidences we saw. So in case, let me give you one of the ideas. In order for you to understand okay, how do you know the secret society, Illuminati, Freemasons? Actually, Freemasonry and the Illuminati actually designed by the idea coming from the protocol of the Lone Elders of Zion. So sometimes we make the protocol of Zion, but the protocols of the Lone Elders of Zion. The protocol of the Lone Elders of Zion, what is it? So many of you know that the protocol of the meeting of the Lone Elders of Zion is actually, we made shortened form, is the protocol of the Elders of Zion, sometimes the protocols of Zion. So this is actually fabricated the anti-Semitic text or documents. You can download freely. Anyone can access that. So I don't want to show you, but there's a whole bunch of things you can see that. So it is a fabricated anti-Semitic text, purporting to describe a Jewish plan for global domination. So Agenda 21, I said that Agenda 21 is the window to see the world government. I told you. United Nations is also to see the windows to world governance. And then when you see like the World Health Organization, that's also to see how whole world will concern about the health and the life and death issue in the global village. The protocols of the meetings of the Lone Elders of the Zion is a fabricated anti-Semitic text or book purporting to describe Jewish plan for global domination. Of course, today, many historians say this is the book of lie. Yes, I agree. This is the book of lie. This is a conspiracy. Some of them, this is conspiracy. Yes, of course. You can say that. But then let's examine it. Let's examine it, whether they are the source of the lie. Of course, I believe this is the source of lies. And also whether they are intended or unintended. We have to know that many things follow this pattern. And so this is evident what they say is really happening. So it is not important this is the book of lie or not. But the whole world can see the evidences what this, the protocol of the Elders of Zion talks about. So one of the things we know is seeing this, the connection into Jewry, the meaning the Jewish society. You could see the prophecy of Jesus Christ when he was carrying the cross in Calvary. Daughter of Jerusalem, do not cry for me, and cry for your sons and daughters, because the city will be destroyed, and you will not see me until you will see the Hosanna in the highest. And the city will be destroyed. The temple will be destroyed. And you will see the desolation of abomination someday, according to Prophet Daniel said. Jesus mentioned about it. So we cannot deny this destruction of the Jerusalem is a very beginning point of Jewish nationhood identity. Because this is actually, when we see always two things. Number one, this is the reality world, okay? The whole world see the war is happening, disaster happening, something happening. This is a reality world. Another world, there's a prophecy. So if you're looking at without the prophecy of Jesus Christ, you can see the different dimension of the Jerusalem when the General Titus destroyed it. What is that? Anti-Semitic sentiments, along with all of elite society in Roman Empire. Why? Because they consider Jewish are very rebellious. The Jewish people are very, disobeying whatever the Roman Empire. They consider they are the cancer of the empire. Because you don't think about the prophecy of Jesus Christ. But if you think in Jewish community, they are always rebellious. They always make riots and any kind of demonstrations and always the problems. So even Emperor Hadrian says that we will scoop out the Jewish community out of the land of the Palestine into the Mediterranean Sea, so that there will be no single Jewish people in the world. So you could see how deep and great the anti-Semitic sentiment at the time. So this is the world. The people in the Roman world, wow, we are happy. There is no center of the Jewish people because Jerusalem was destroyed. But we're looking this same thing into the eyes of the Lord. First one, the prophecy of Christ. And number two, the prophecy of Daniel. The prophecy of Ezekiel, the prophecy of the many people in the Bible, right? Same thing. Whole world we say, okay, so keep your sanitary, the hygiene things important to you, and then keep your hands clean. So please put on your mask on your face, and then so keep isolated and quarantine yourself. This is the common mandatory. Okay, whole world seeing. But if you're looking at the Bible, if you listen to the work of the Holy Spirit, we see and hear a different story. Do you understand what I mean? Same thing is today. I don't deny the reality of the world. I know how to keep myself clean. I know how to prevent myself from the coronavirus infection. I know how to do it. So I allowed. But on the other hand, from the eyes of the Lord, from the eyes of the Bible, from the eyes of the prophecies, how do we see this? How do you understand this? Same things we have to understand. When Jewish people targeted by Roman Empire and the city was destroyed. That's the common knowledge at the time. But we are seeing this in the eyes of the Lord because his own people reject the Messiah to receive a Savior. And that's why the city was destroyed. This is a Christian view. But there was no Christian view at all. Only few people. So we see this, the destruction of Jerusalem, and the Jewish people became always targeted along every spot or every locality in the Roman Empire. Wherever they go, they are not welcomed. So this is the same thing when they spread out all of the Roman Empire. What happened? You see, they living in Spain because Spain was under Islamic Emirates. And then the Spanish Emirates, meaning it's not the European rule, this is Islamic rule for 700 years. What happened? Because Jewish people accepted. In Christian empire, Christian kingdom did not welcome them. So there is no place for them to live. But more than 1 million Jewish people living in Spain, because they were welcome. And even they become prime minister, court, and they become the highest official. They could be very amazing jobs like bankers and investors and teachers and the printing press managers, and they have beautiful business there. They are highly, highly appreciated in the society we call the Spanish Emirates. But when Reconquista, meaning the Christian Spanish, the Hispaniola, and we call the Aragon, united into the one nation with España. When Christian España expelled all of the Jewish people, more than 1 million, They became targets. And they become like, germs and virus of the European nations. Many Europeans consider that they are the virus of our society. So this is one of the things we're looking at. Another one, the black disease in the Middle Ages. And I think 2 weeks before I talk about black disease. And then, 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 people die out by this epidemic, the black disease. And then, what is the condemnation? They condemn the Jewish population because this virus, this epidemic came to our society because of Jews. And then, they were stoned, they were actually killed, and they were confiscated. They were actually became enemy of the whole society in European village. So if you know that this, I don't want to mention whole, but, at least 2,000 years in history, they became the Holocaust. 6 million people died in the laboratory, in the gas cabins. Can you know that, when I went to the Auschwitz in the Poland, in gas cabins, it's like, they are not better than the animals. They were experimental by many medical scientists while they are alive. You could see that so many unhuman things happening towards the Jewish populations, not 1 decade, but throughout the whole world in Christian history. So Jewish people, by this, victimize the Jewish people, say, oh, we have to do something. What is that? Because I'm saying that elite, not the common people, not masses. In the common Jewish people, they don't have any power. The common Jewish people, they didn't have any kind of governmental system. But elite, the top people, coming from Ukraine, Hungary, Poland, and Romania, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, mostly in that area, Ashkenazim and the Sephardim, they come together and they say that let us build up the Jewish nation because no one will protect us. That's number one. And what is the way that we could build up? Then, okay, so we are going to make our value and purpose and goal. That's a protocol of the meetings of the land elders of Zion. Why Zion? Because we want to restore the Zion. The Zion at the time in Jerusalem is under control of Ottoman troops. So do you remember the Ottoman troops reigned over the land for more than 400 years? No one can defeat. But they want to go back because they cannot go. So they think about how do you go? Okay, can you make a nation in Uganda for Jewish nation? Or can you make our nation in Harbin, in China? Or otherwise, can you make our nation in Argentina? There are several scenarios. They want to build up their own nationhood. So what basis they try to make the nationhood? That's the protocol. That's a protocol of the meetings of the land elders of Zion. Because what they made a book, and they follow the manual from the book. That is actually, we call the birth of the protocol of the meetings of the land elders of Zion. So in this sense, many of you know he is the protocol of the land elders. So I just skipped the protocol of the meetings of the land elders of Zion. Has a lot of contents. I don't want to give a lot of things in detail, but next time I'm going to give. But what you see, the Agenda 21, United Nations mandates, and then with sustainability, sustainable developments and project, and we see all kind of we call the take action issues under United Nations 2030, and then we see whole of the world right now under this COVID-19 issues. We see what they say 130 years ago, we are seeing this. So this is I call it Jewish plot, the Jewish scheme, the Jewish plan. And then, this is actually, they want to govern and cover the finance area, the banking area, the most of the money area. And they want to cover the political, economic, societal, and others. And also they want to restore the nation of Israel. Over 2,000 years, they have never had their lands. sovereignty, land, people, they don't have. Although the people are scattered, they don't have a nationality of the Jewish nation. So they want to create a nation. So this was actually under what? New World Order. They want to create New World Order. Because entire nation, in their thinking, entire nation against the Jewish nation, right? Because from the beginning of the Jerusalem destruction in AD 70, they think that whole world against the Jewish nation. So they have to change the world system. They have to change the world order. They have to change the world governments in order to have their own protection. So that's they call it the New World Order. So the late 18th century, the beginning of the idea, actually, I don't want to mention a lot, but I have tons of story behind of these. So one of the idea of the New World Order is actually a same idea of the Freemasonry. This is the 100% identical. The idea is, surprisingly, it's the same idea. Although we say the protocol of the meetings of the Lone Elders of Zion, this is a new thing. But, it's long before that protocol. It's actually the Freemasonry has same idea. And then not only the Freemasonry, and then out of the Freemasonry, there is also the Illuminati, has same agenda, same, issues, and same goals, and same, purpose. And then I told you a while ago, they need money. But it must be intercontinental, it must be international. Beyond their borders, like, one in Frankfurt in the German kingdom, and the other in London, British Empire, and one in Paris in French Empire all over the world, and one in down up there in Cairo in Egypt. They have already long before international banking system, they set it up. Why? Because there was the internet, there was no telephone system yet, but they made it. Why? Because Rothschild has global, international banking system. They had already that infrastructure. So when the Rothschild is banking up, whoever wants to go back to the land of Israel and Palestine, and they say they will provide money. That's why truly they gave money. And so people from the Ashkenazim area, so-called the Hungary, Poland, Ukraine, Russia, when they wanted to go back to the land of Palestine, and Rothschild gave them money, and they purchased the land. So little by little, and what it is today is the Palestine Jewish nationhood. So the Rothschild with the governmental level, meaning it's like British Empire and the German Empire and other empires closely interrelated, because there is one common policy when Rothschild support this program. So the basic idea, the last week that I shared with you, the Adam the Weishaupt. Adam Weishaupt, talk about the idea of the New World Order. This idea is very, very important because the nationhood of America in 1776, when America became declaring their independence and then became the independent country, this one is actually closely designed, this idea with Adam the Weishaupt. And also the idea that we had the Illuminati is almost identical with that. And then not only for that, the Commonwealth, so-called the Council on Foreign Relations, and, Bilderbergers and others, trilateral meetings. All these are same, the ideas, what I talk about, the idea of the Adam Weishaupt. So he is a very important person. So actually he is the founder, or maybe the ideal person or idea maker of the Illuminati. Although there are others, the Illuminati is not actually birthed out of their own, but actually it was birthed out of the Freemasons. The Freemason has long relationship with Masonry or the Mason guilds. And the Mason guild is not actually at once they started, but it was connected to the Roman Empire. Roman Empire was not actually started by themselves. The Masons guild actually connected to the Phoenician Empire. The Phoenician Empire closely interrelated with the Egyptian and Babylonian Empire. So we have very historical connections there. So Illuminati. So let's start. I'm not going to give you so more complicated things, but I want to give the simple things first for you to understand. The first one, Dr. Adam the Weishaupt founded the Illuminati on May 1st, 1776. This is the same year. This is the same year the American independence declared. But the idea is same. There are tons of the ideas there. So he earlier has the plan, then produced the blueprint. What is the blueprint? Number one, the French Revolution. And then even the French Revolutions, then, the other one is the Bolsheviki Revolution, modern day Soviet Union, the communist bloc, in November 6th and 7th in 1917. And, so when he planned and blueprinted, I told you a while ago, there is dire need of the money supporting. If you don't have money, this blueprint may not work out. Why? Because you cannot create it. You need manpower. You need something to do. So Rothschild is always supporting this. That's why Rothschild is supporting this, and we call the Russian Confederation was birthed because of this money support. French revolutions and American, revolutions and others happening, really. So in history, it's not a conspiracy. You have tons of, documents. I told you a while ago, conspiracy is different from the reality. Reality, if you see that, if you don't see virus, but still virus exists. Same thing. The America exists. This exists. If Soviet Union existed before, it's not conspiracy, this Illuminati plan was existed. So please to understand what I explain about Illuminati as actually satanic. It's not Christian idea, it's a satanic movement. So another means like it's a Luciferian movement to preserve and promote the ancient black arts of the Babylonians and Druid witchcraft. So these Babylonians also working with the horse movements from the Egyptian mystics. Egyptian mystics, so-called the all-seeing eye from pyramid. It's the idea what they actually build up the society on the basis of the mysterious or mysteric knowledge and information. So its goals are to destroy the Christianity first. When you see that, the Agenda 21, you don't see any Christian hatred. You don't see the United Nations never mention about one religion to be hated. But however, when you see the roots in going down, one who designed and masterminded, you could see clearly the idea there was the goal to destroy the Christianity. This Christianity means not the nominal. So you have to distinguish. So there are true believers, there are nominal believers. There are true believers, there are actually religious people. The mostly religious people working with the Illuminati, religious people working with the Freemasons, the religious people working with the New World Order. So it's going to destroy the true Christianity, one who believes that Jesus is the Lord and Savior. And also its goal is to build up the old world governments. That's the New World Order. Then they unite them under one world government, whose ruler is Lucifer. So if you're looking at all these movements, what things behind of them is actually the satanic movements. So let me show you one of the pyramids. On top of this, you could see the all-seeing eyes. We call the eyes of the horse. The eyes of the horse is the goddess in Egyptian gods and goddess. So if you're looking at here, the New World Order has some of the things here. The common people all over the world. It's like any country, any nation. When they see that, it's like, you see the COVID-19, the loan program, the COVID-19, the relief program. You and I have to have one question. Where does money come from? Because we don't pay the taxes. How do they get that money? Though the House of the Congress and Senate approved it. You have to think about. This is the one I'm saying that. You see the COVID-19, the virus problem, but many of us are blinded. if there's incoming, there must be outgoing, right? If there's expenditure, there must be revenue. So you think about the way how the money make it. When we have this relief program and we have more debts, I can receive $600 right now, but every common American people have more debts. Same thing in 2008 when there is the economic crisis in the Wall Street. You think about, we don't need to carry the debts, but because of Ford, GM, and Chrysler, we think that more than the $3,000 for American people carried out to pay for that. When one child is born, you have to pay $3,000 for that moment. But if you accumulate all, our debts are higher. You think about the economic system in the government. And in each country, like France, is think about in the relief system, the relief program in Britain and Korea. The government will give money, but there must be revenue. So that's the debt. This is what we call debt program. People living in the world, we have more debts. If you want to pay debts, if you want to pay back the debts, what happened? You have to obey the government. You have to listen to the government. Because you have debts, right? So, and the population resource, the labor units, this is common people. And then, there is Israel, the Muslim, the Christianity, and there is also the so-called the academia, there is the enterprise, there is companies, there are businesses, and all those, these social sectors are above the population. And then what happened? There will be the program of the world population control because we are too many. I think last week and the other week I told you, we are too many. United Nations declared we are too many. Still, the population is growing exponentially. So I want you to know the Visa, MasterCard, and the NICE and Arcor and others, all those things, actually what they do is along with, the world depopulation control, Monsanto. And then the world resource control, we have limited amount of natural resource and others. So we have to work together, right? The petroleums and others. So we call it the world resource control. And then above that, we call the world financial control. And then above that, what happened? The powerful sub-families, the elite societies. And then above this elite society, who are there? The Committee of 300, the Bohemian groups. And after that, along this one, so many secret societies, Freemason, Illuminatis, and others. Then the crown of Council of 13, and then Antichrist will come. This is what the Bible says. So this is a precursor of the coming world governments as we're looking into the COVID-19 problems in our world. Let me give you the ideas. What do you see this picture right now in your slide? This is Solomon's temple. The Solomon's temple, Jacob and Boaz, two fellows in the Solomon's temple there. But when you're looking at this building, this was the largest building at the contemporary era. And this building was the highest building at the time. And this was the most beautiful building in the world at the time. But if you're looking at this, can you see that this one is also the full view of satanic movements? Why? Who is the builder? King Solomon. King David designed it. However, King Solomon built this temple. And then, did he build all building? No. He needs architect. He needs builder. He needs masons. He needs stone. He needs also cedars from Lebanon. And he didn't have any resource except the stone. But mason, he couldn't have the masons from the Israel. So he asked the king, the Hiram of Tyre. The Tyre is a symbol of Lucifer because this is the beginning of the Baal religion. The Baal religion, modern day, we call it, Jupiter or Zeus and Diana, and see what you call the women god. So Baal and Ashtaroth, if you see this couple, it's actually throughout the Phoenician civilizations, from the Lebanon, modern day Cyprus, the Tyrian side, Sidon, and then the Cyprus and Greece, because usually the Crete and the Greece, and then the other way all around is Libya, we call the Put, and the Mitzrayim, and then furthermore is Tunis, modern day the Carthage. All these Baal religions spread out, and the destruction of ancient Israel is actually out of disobedience to the commandment of the Lord, because they do the idolatry. The idolatry, what they do is they follow the Baal religion. The religion from actually Tyre. This Tyre, actually King Hiram, is a higher person who actually promote the Baal religion. And actually, when King Solomon built this one, we call the masters and the masons and keymen, all coming from the kingdom of Tyre. So this is the actually predictions. Actually it's not the reality, because I just want you to looking at this one, because when King Hiram support and help the King Solomon, because Solomon's father David and also King Hiram Adib father are close friends together. So their father generation, son generation, both very closely working together. So I have a lot of biblical references, but I want to skip that, because if I want to say, I may miss one of the key issues today. So when King Hiram walked out, and King Hiram has the most called the birthplace of Western civilization. Why? The Phoenicia or Phoenician civilization. Modern day Greek languages and alphabet. Greek language became Latin, and European alphabet and European civilization. That's the birthplace. Europe or Europa is actually one of the mystics in Lebanon. That's coming out of their land, the Tyre and Sidon. So, when the Tyre is very famous because of the trade in Mediterranean Sea. And what happened, Tyre has two civilizations backed up. The one is Babylonian, the other one is Egyptian Empire. The Babylonian civilization, Egyptian civilization, they combine together and create new civilization, which is called the Phoenician or Phoenician. This Phoenician becomes the foundation of the European civilization we call Hellenism. Therefore, Solomon's temple designed by Hiram like that, the Babel's Tower. However, King Solomon didn't follow that way. So, however, the architect, the masons, and the masters, all working together, is similar to the design of King Solomon. But King Solomon didn't design, and actually King David made it. So if you're looking at the birth of the Freemason, it's starting from here in this time. Because King Hiram of Tyre provided masons, because we call secret people of knowledge, which we call mason is, they never shared. Even son and father never shared the knowledge. Even the relative never shared. Only one who actually accept the mystery religion, they can have that. This is secret knowledge. This is secret information. So the father, son never had that unless you accept the mystery religion. That mystery religion is a religion of Satan. As I said, the all-seeing eye, the horse. So King Solomon started to build up this Solomon's temple, but Hiram Adib, the king of this Tyre, is closely working together, supporting many things, providing manpower, providing very craftsmen. The Bible very explained in detail. So over here, the secret society was born. So one of the secret societies is Mason's society. So if you see this, the Solomon who was sitting in the crown, and another one is actually the representative from the kingdom of Tyre. And then the other one is Jeroboam, so one who rebelled against the king himself. And when Jeconiah actually rebelled, and later on the kingdom divided in northern kingdom Israel and southern kingdom actually Jeroboam. So that's the southern kingdom Judah. So you could see here King Solomon made this draw of the temple, and on the right hand you could see that this is the one. If you see the we call the Sea of Water, it's designed by King Hiram Adif. You see the cops carrying that? I have a lot of archaeological discoveries. When I went to the Lebanon, I was surprised. The size of the city of the Tyre is unbelievable, unbelievable. I have never seen such a city in my life. That's why God hates the idolatry. Because there's this rebellion against the commandment of God. And definitely point to the what? The coming Messiah. You see that? Same thing is going to happen in the last day. Everything you see is like, one world order or one world government, all of the things, if you see that, this is a one common direction, deny the coming Messiah, Jesus as the Savior and the Lord. This is a common thing long before happened in the time of the King Solomon, and then even in the time of the destruction of the Jerusalem in the 70 AD. And even now we see the whole world is actually forming against the knowledge of the Lord, who is truly the Son of God and the Messiah and the Savior. So when here, the King Solomon with his kinsman, and it is, if you're looking at the left hand, we call it indicated as King Hiram Adif, and on the other one is actually the very basic knowledge we call the Freemason symbol. When you're looking at the compass over there and the ruler, so the secret knowledge of the pyramid building is actually depending on the compass and ruler. So you could see the Washington, D.C., designed by the compass and ruler. If you see the Boston city, this is the first city in the United States that designed by actually Freemason. The Boston designed by Four Corner by Lodge House. We call Freemason Lodge. So always I bring people into the Four Corner in the downtown Boston, in Boston Common, and show them how definitely closely the city was designed by Freemason. If you're looking at the Manhattan, you see the three sections, Middletown and downtown and uptown. The three sections designed by also Freemason. The Freemason design is actually rulers. You could see the triangular type, and then another ruler make the actually square type. And there's a square type is actually designed by the Freemason symbol. So if you see the aeroscope, the view from the helicopter or other, you can clearly see Manhattan is actually Freemason city. Philadelphia is Freemason city. Washington, D.C. is 100% identical to the Freemason city. Seattle is Freemason city. Chicago is Freemason city. Houston is Freemason city. Atlanta is Freemason city. Los Angeles is Freemason city. If you're looking at the San Francisco, 100% identical to the Freemason design. So I told you, you are seeing the reality, but you have gift of ignorance. You have gift of unknowledge. If you don't have knowledge, you don't understand. If you don't have any kind of understanding, you don't understand. We are deceived. We are blinded. We don't understand how the American governments were formed before by some of the secret society elite people. We have to know the secret. And so the Charles William the Hackathon, the Swiss people, the person who worked in the Switzerland and became the naturalized British citizen, I think I have tons of this, but there's illustration of these movements, and I want to give this one idea. He was Swiss-born and naturalized British citizen, author best known for his history of secret society, wrote in his book. This is a book, The Secret Society of All Ages and Countries. The secret society is not like 18th century movement. The secret society movement is not 19th century movement. The secret society is not the movements of the 21st century. It's long before. Even the Middle Ages, even the ancient Roman Empire, even long before. It was designed, it was planned, it was made. So one of the quotation that I want to say is taken literally. The story of Hiram. This Hiram is Hiram Adif. Offers nothing as extraordinary as to deserve to be commemorated after 3,000 years throughout the world by solemn rites and ceremonies. What? They have secret religion, they have secret society, but religion and politics work together and to the one to common purpose, one world, which is called new novena, novel, new world order, new world system, new world structure. They want to change the kingdom system. They want to change the republic system. They want to change all the societal system into one system, which is called New World Order. We are coming into this era right now. So the origin of the Freemasonry, as I told you, Adam, Weishaupt, and others, there are, tons of people that I can mention, but, I always think about, minimize this, in order to focus on topic today, the secret society. The origin of the Freemasonry can show they have the lodges, right? The place of worship, the place of learning, where they can have the secret knowledge, generation to generation and century to century. This second knowledge, actually passing down to other Masons people. They have class, which is called the degree, 33 degree. So as they have upgraded their degree, they have more knowledge on that. So this is the lodges and the place of gathering and also the ranks. And then, on top of that, their masters, they call it grand masters. And then the masters and wardens down below. Then with the same ritual observances. This is the very political, societal, some cases. In the higher, you could see the very mysteric, very religious rituals you could experience. And then the Freemasons were first devised by the King Solomon. This is the beginning. Why? King Solomon accepted the Gentile religion. Do you remember his wife and concubines? Thousands Gentile girls and wives and concubines. He brought idolatry into the land of Israel, and Israel was destroyed. Why? Because 10 tribes rebelled against God. Can you see that? Not because many others, not because of King David, but because of Solomon. So today, if you're looking at the Jewish population, maybe 90%, 95%, 99% common Jewish people, poor like us, common people. But if you see the elite, they are different. The elite Jewish, they are different. Like Solomon, king and his elite people, different. They are the one actually make the Israelhood and Israel nation to be corrupted. So this is same things. Of course, the Antichrist will come, but these top class people or secret knowledge people among the top Jewish people, they are the one actually designed and made it. So I don't want to say that the protocol of the meetings of the law and the elders of the Zion, designed by Moses, 99% Jewish people never heard this. They didn't know. If you tell the Russian Jews, they never heard about it. If you talk about Ukraine and others, and they don't know. Only top people understand that. Same things. When Solomon built that, we think that King David designed it and this building was built. No. Wardens, masters, and the masons and carpenters, all those people actually supplied and provided by higher Lucifer worshiper, which is actually exemplified by King Hiram Adif. In the case, so this assumption is actually beginning of the secret society during the construction of the temple on the Mount Moriah, which is called King Solomon's Temple. So this one is actually connecting to the guilds of the Masons in the Middle Ages, Templar Knights and others. So the 12th century, one of the historic secret society in France is called this is a guild of the Masons, and they continue passing down the knowledge among the companion de la Tour. It's the one who traveled all of the major cities in European nations. And that's why European architectural design have all story of the Mason's secret knowledge. So this is the Masonic structures. You see the 33 degree. If you're beginning from 1, this is the beginning that we call enter apprentices. This is apprentices, the beginner and learn, from the master. And can continually upgrade it, the fellow craft and the master mason and secret mason and perfect master. And then you see the intimate, the secretary, and then go up to 33 degree, the sovereign grand, inspector grand, general. These are the 133 degree of the knowledge, what they have. This is the ritual they have. It's a very societal, very scientific, and at the same time religious. This is a religion of the mysticism. And then this one actually on the right hand, you see every 30 degree can divide into 10 steps, so-called the order of the Knight of Templar, the order of the Knights of the Malta is actually in the Mediterranean islands, and the order of the Red Cross, and the Royal Archmason, and the excellent master, and then it's called the Past Master, we call the Virtual, and then this is called the Mark Master, and then the Master Mason, and the fellow craft, and then we call entered apprentices. So this is 10 ranks there, so along with 33 degrees of the Masonic structures. So, let me begin with a story of the we call the Mount Olive Discourse. Mount Olive Discourse is so-called the when disciple came, Lord, when all these things are going to happen. So this is, what is the sign of the end of the age? So that's, end of the age is actually another one is the end of Olam Hajj. And the coming of the world is Olam Haba. So, some of you understand the Olam Hajj and Olam Haba. I had given this lecture long before. Excuse me. Thank you. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So, the coming of the Messiah time. So, tell us when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age. Thank you so much. And Jesus answered, see those things. Number 1. You will hear the rumors of the wars. Earthquakes and disasters will happen. Famines and drought will follow. And then I told you in addition, look, the pestilence and epidemics happen. Then the heart of the man will be colded. But know that this is not yet that I'm about to come. Why? This must be done first. This must be done first. This must happen first before my coming. Let me say again, natural disasters, earthquakes, and volcano eruptions, all kinds of things. The pestilence, epidemics, plagues, disease, these things must be happen. Drought, famine, starvation must happen. And the war must happen. Then this is a sign before my coming. And then what the Lord says, if you see the desolation of abomination in the holy mount, the time is near. So, New World Order, if you see the New World Order is visible in your eyes, know that we are already coming into the time of Antichrist. This is what the prophet Daniel talks about. 7 years tribulation. The one who against the Messiah will come and make the peace treaty. Not in one nation, not in one country, not in one continent, but in the whole world. so that the security, peace, and stability, sustainability will be preserved. And then what happened next? And he will become the Prince of Peace, because he can have power of controlling over population, disease, and the trades, and travel, economy, governments, culture, and family, and religion. Then what happened? This is called New World Order. New World Order is actually world governments, controlling over all the governments around the world. It is not just any world government. It is the world government of the Antichrist. So when you see this happening, you have to have discernment. You have to have understanding. Where are we? Where are we? Brethren, if you watch this, please ask God, give me the spirit of discernment. Please pray that. Because we have to discern, where are we? Many of us, I just want to, I don't want to stay in my home. And so many people blinded. I think about myself, but the whole world is following into the direction of someone who is deeply against God. Who is that? Satan. Satan gave his idea into his man, who is called Antichrist. So if you see the world government movement right now, you have to have the idea. Not long before, but even recently, as I told you, 1992, we call the sustainable developments in the United Nations conferences in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in 1992. And then you see the 1999 Gulf War, even President Bush sitting here proclaimed. And it's, you don't think 100 years before. Nowadays, it's a common agenda. It's forming right now. It's forming right now. So, one of the evidence that I show, many of you use the $1 denomination, right? $1 notes. You see, this is not English words. Annus, what do you call? Scepters. This is annus scepters, means like the all-seeing eyes. But this one, Latin word, actually Horus. It's a Latin version. So when I say that King Hiram and this King Solomon, they're actually the worshiper of the king, worshiper of the Horus, made the idea of the craftsmanship in building of the King Solomon's temple. The all-seeing eyes, the eyes of the Horus, the eyes of Lucifer, seeing. I think 2 weeks before I talked about the two different systems we are forming after COVID-19. One is Taiwan and China and Israel model. What is that? Every population under surveillance of one control. So you could not travel. Like one city in Wuhan, if government order don't go out, the city locked down. And then what happened? Government control over the entire population. And then, I think, like a green, you said that, Dr. Yim, there is a green card, there is a blue and red. Israeli governments has same things like, entire population. They locked down the entire country, and then they locked down everything because of COVID-19. And what happened? This is under the surveillance. Because why they have the surveillance system? Because of the Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. Because the neighboring country attacked. They need, every population must be under the surveillance. Taiwan has same thing. So this is, now we see the government is actually doing it. And then the same thing happening in Korea. This is another one, what Yuval Harari says, that this is a democratic way. Not under, we call, the reinforcement, but as voluntary. Because government explained, and Korean citizens follow the rule voluntarily. It's not by power or force, but the government say and explain, people follow. This is more likely democratic way, what Yuval Harari says. But anyway, you cannot avoid, like one who has the coronavirus infection, and then government start to trace in order to stop and block the further spread. So what they use, they try to track their use of the plastic card, and then they try to also track where they go by riding on a cab and, riding a subways and, riding any transportations, public bus and transportation. And they can trace all. And then, where they stay, they can trace all of this because of how they use like mobile phone, they can trace. And then, how they use the computer in their home and then what time they logging in, log out. They can trace all of this. And then they trace, okay, so there's a spread connection. And the Korean government stopped that one. So you see the civilians. There will be one civilians by one world order, new world order, under the power of the Antichrist in the name of the Prince of Peace. This is going to happen. This is a foretaste of these things in our day. In Korea, in Taiwan, in Singapore, in China, and now European nations want to follow. And that's why Germany and Ireland and Spain want to adapt this idea. They send their delegates to learn from the Korean governments. So on the right-hand side of the pyramid, if you're looking at this, the American dollar, the Freemasons, Benjamin Franklin, President George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, all Freemasons. We have 100 books talk about. We cannot deny any of those. We have long, long history. American history is the history of the Freemasons. On the right-hand side, if you see the farmers and laborers, that's a common people. But on top of that, you see artisans. And on top of the artisans, you see the scribes. And after the scribes, we call district governors. And the district governors, on top of them, it's royal governors and overseers. In royal overseers, after the war, we call vizier or nobles and high priests and the pharaoh. This is the Egyptian system. And now the Masons, Templar Knights, and the Illuminaries, and all of the system, they have this system, 33 system, the pyramid system. If you don't want to know, but I don't want to say, but I want to look back, this is exactly adapted by Illuminati, Guild of Masons, and the Freemasons, largest in degree. And then the idea is actually readapted by more scholars and the politicians today. So you could see that, these Freemasons, Illuminati societies, Bohemian groves, Bilderbergs, 300s, Council on Foreign Relations, all these have same attitudes and structure of the pyramid. Because they want to control over the common people, 7 billion people in the world. 7.4 billion people. It's all of here. And then on top of their artisans, so-called Masons, one who receives the secret knowledge. And the scribes, the governors and overseers, and the priests, the religious people, on top of the pharaoh. The pharaoh represents Lucifer. Pharaoh represents Satan. So the basic Illuminati pyramid structure is actually identical with Egyptian models. You and I belong to masses, 7.4 billion people around the world, common population. But the police, secret police, the FBI, IRS, and Hollywood, and music industries, and entertainments, and influential people, law enforcement, that's on top of that. Bodyguards and policemakers, political, religious leaders, actually on top of this. And then world leaders and secret societies like Knight of Templars, and actually the Golden Dawns, Skull and Bone in Yale, President Bush and his son, all of them belongs to Freemasonry and Illuminaries, Rockefellers, hierarchy of this. And on top of that, money is by the Rothschild and others. And then on top of all of those, it's actually positioned by one man, the Satan, or Pharaoh, the fallen angel, devil, Lucifer. He controls over power and principality and dominions. So if you see both, This on the left hand is actually New World Order agenda in order to create the perfect society of Egyptian model under control of Pharaoh, under control of Lucifer. So everyone, the workers and common people in the world, actually in the bottom. And the education system, entertainment industry, religious dogma on top of the common people. The corporate and governments owned of the news media actually blind these common people, give the idea of the New World Order. And the government funded societies, actually food and drugs and health and care industries. And European Union, United Nations, and President and Prime Minister of the powerful countries around the world. Top military intelligence agencies on top of that, actually. The presidents are puppets. The king and queens are puppets because behind of them, actually, top-level secret agencies there. And on top of this, the top-level advisors and political, we call political people, the politicians. The global companies and big Wall Street investors like, the JP Morgans and Rockefellers and, Standard Oils, all those things. And on top of this, I believe Rothschilds and New World Order agenda. This one is modern day, 21st century version. If you're looking at here, you can interpret this. We can receive the COVID-19 relief funds. But however, we have more debts in our society. Debt slaves is the beginning. And the governments and media and education, entertainments, and all the TV programs and, all kinds of sports and world population control may begin. But I may say it's already begun. Then the corporations like Apple's, Walmart's, Visa cards, McDonald's, all others, world resource control and tax revenue, central banks, and the interest rates and revenues. The think tanks, because the elite society will design this. And on top of that, there will be New World Order. So brethren, this is the one that I can show you, Illuminati. Illuminati control over the banking and money group, secret society group, the Freemasons, Skull and Bones. This is CIA man. All of CIA, FBI belongs to this. If you know that this is a very common story for us as far as American people understand that. The Grand Orient Lodge and the Alfina Lodge, and then Knights Templar, the Royal Order of the Garter, and the Pride of the Zion, and also the Secretions. These are the secret societies groups. And the bankings, international monetary banks, the IMF, central banks, and then, the World Bank, and then the International Bank of Settlements and World Conservation Bank, and the multinational corporations and foundations. These are another one, NGO humanitarian wings. The political groups, we call the national government leaders, United Nations, and Bilderberg, I said, the Trilateral Commission, I will explain later on, Council on the Foreign Relations and Club of Rome, and Aspen Initiative, the Bohemian groups, and the regional federations, NATO and ESC, now EU, and international labor unions. These are the actually political groups. Intelligence groups, CIA, KGB, FI, British intelligence, MI6, the mafia, organized crime organizations, and drug cartels in Mexico and Latin America, and even in the United States, Interpol, Communist Party. And then the religious groups, there will be one religion under one name of God. It doesn't matter Roman Catholic or Oriental Orthodox. Whatever it is called, there will be one religion. And World Council of Churches will be a channel of this. National Council of Churches in each country will be also united under this name so that each denomination and sect will belong to this. And World Parliament of Religion, that's we call the peace religion. Vatican, NSMOM, New Age cults and New Age movements, liberal Protestant denominations and Unity Church, and the Unitarian Church, the Munsangmyeong, and the Bahar, and Temple of Understanding. All these sectarian, cultic, and heretics and all others belong. And there will be one religious movement. This is what called the prostitute, harlot, the great deceiver of the Babylon. The education group, the UNESCO, World Peace Groups, and the Philanthropy, the Congress, and World Federalist Association, World Constitution and Parliamentary Association, Environment Group, Green Peace, and then many, the environmental groups, Lucis Trust, this is very famous one, World Goodwill, World Union, and excellent institutes in the media establishment. So when you're looking at this, the developed secret society for New World Order are many. So let me give you one, Templar Knights and the Guild of Masons and the Freemasons and Illuminaries. And on the right hand, this is the first time why they made this, and these Jewish elite people made visible document, which is called the Protocol of the Meetings of the Law and the Elders of Zion. This is the first written document. Before, the sacred knowledge was not seen. The sacred knowledge never appeared in public. But because of persecution against Jewish people, destruction of Jerusalem, great expel from Spain, and the Middle Ages, the Black Death, they are targeted as the enemy of the society. And Second World War, the 6 million people targeted. That's why before that, they first time made the visible documents. Now we're seeing it. This is secret knowledge passing down to the generation. And now, right after the Protocol of the Law and the Elders of Zion, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg meetings, the Trilateral Commission, Bohemian Groves, all etc. So after that, the modernized process took place after Second World War. So it's more likely reformative, led by Rothschild. Still Rothschild is working, JP Morgan, the Merrill Lynch, all of the governments, if you see like Bill Gates, they say that 1,000,000 times in the Bill Gates they have won. They made money, they made notes, they made bank denomination, they create governments. It's greater than the president, greater than any government in the world. Actually, Rothschild is still behind the many sins in the world. Freemasons and Illuminaries, the idea still won in order to form the New World Order, still in action. And so the first Zionist movement, this one is actually when they declare the protocol of the meetings of the Law and the Elders of Zion, the first time signed up. And this was the first time when Jewish elite met together in Basel, in Switzerland. So in 1897, this was the first time they met together. And they wanted to make the Jewish nation, to restore the nation of Israel. As I said that, like, in Uganda or somewhere in Harbin, at the time in Russia, nowadays in China, Argentina, Uruguay, they tried to make one nationhood. Eventually, they made a nation in Palestine. So this protocol Zion, before the creation of television, they want people to be blinded. I mean, masses, the common people to be blinded by seeing something that they want. Even before invention of the television, they think about the visual things, and sports and entertainment and leisure and amusement industries and materialism. Money is God. So the role of Jewish leadership, the elite, here today, the multinational entrepreneurship, we call the multinational companies. Finances, they want to control finances, petroleum, military supply, food, and the minerals and natural resource. Therefore, the means of Zion protocols, the buy off. Because if someone is against the Jewish nationhood, so they just bribed and gave money. And if not, they killed. Assassination. Some of cases, if you hear so many assassinations, John F. Kennedy's, Abraham Lincoln, even the son of John F. Kennedy's, still we see. But this is mystery. But this is a perfect set. Truly, they framed it. And the blackmail, they used blackmail, journalism, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, owned by Jewish people. Sports. And then others, public debts and land by banks, Jewish people. The most of banks actually owned by Jewish owners. Federal Reserve Board, FRB, IMF, the Bank of the International Systems. If you don't have BIS, you cannot transaction. You cannot trade anything. You cannot send money any country. The World Bank, all supported by this protocol. So this protocol is important. Actually, the first manuscript was actually delivered by the Mitzrayim Lodge. Mitzrayim means Egypt, because the Freemason Lodge. And then the Russian spy purchased the manuscript by 2,500 francs. And then it's published in Russian language first in 1897. And then 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution took place. Hitler read it. Illuminati, Freemason, and New Worlder have same agenda. One economic world, one political government, one religious world. So one world government in the world, and then one religious system in the world. One economic system. I don't want to give you a lot because I just want to skip because of time, probably next week, so let me skip. These are the one, actually, the Council on the Foreign Relations in America. If you're looking at this CNN, in New York Times, and Time Magazine, Washington Street Journal, you all top guys, the FRB, the chairman, and the president, and the secretary, and the key man here in the United States, all these are closely connected into New World Order. So this one is not from me. They also control over the media. CNN and ABCBN, all of the media they control over. So this one is actually in their branches. Actually, you see all of the government departments and the branches they control over. They have their own man. So this idea is actually proposed by this man. His name is Edward House, and he is the close advisor to the President Woodrow Wilson, and then later on also the Roosevelt Franklin. And also he created in 1919 the Institute of International Affairs. Later on it became the Council on Foreign Relations. So Jewish dominance will be major in part. The whole world, top 3 in 5, the food company belongs to Jewish. Top crude companies, 6 in 7 Jewish companies. And all of the 100, mostly Jewish company, media, Hollywood, the AP, UPI, AFA, Reuters, newspaper, broadcasting, the CBS and BBC, ABC, the BBC also Jewish, stockholders Jewish mostly, and the 40% 100 top company in the United States, Jewish owner. New World Order is not conspiracy. This is a real things. We know that the Vatican is part of the New World Order. That is a hard branch of the Jesuit. We know that the organization is the Muslim Brotherhood led by the brother Tariq Ramadan, actually leads the New World Order. We believe that for the Jews, everyone understands that it was the Zionist states of Israel, and behind of that is the France and all gang, mafia gang. This is the New World Order gang that led the New World Order for the faithful Jews. Therefore, if I want to say that at this point, the Dalai Lama also is actually, he is the branch of the Buddhist company, and also he is a friend of Nazis and Zionists, in the past how he is a spokesman for the New Order of the Buddhist community. So here the book of Daniel, Revelation 13:7 and Daniel 7:23. The 7 years tribulation, if you see that the desolation of abomination happened in the city of Jerusalem, which is called the Holy Mount. See if Antichrist is in governing. So Daniel 7:23, the world government system ruled by the Antichrist. The fourth beast shall come and enforce kingdom upon the earth, and shall be diverse from the old kingdom, shall devour the whole earth. It shall tread it down and break it down in pieces. We are seeing the prophecies fulfilling in our own eyes. Brethren, I hope you have the spirit of discernment. And I know that many of you have the question, but before beginning the answer question, I think Susie, you have given me a questions, I think last week, that how do you know the homosexualities and like the abortions and the DNA inventions and others are the greatest sin against God? Of course, in the Bible, you see the greatest sin is not our sin of killing and hatred and actually stealing. What is the greatest sin? Lucifer, rebelled against God. He steals the honor and glory of the Lord. Dark angel, fallen angel. These things are going to happen in our day. We made our life, that we set our life to be God. God is in control of our life. God is in control of the universe. God is in control of all things. But we create human people from out of the stem cell. We kill our people, mother's womb. We pervert our sexuality, the man to man and women to women. This is the greatest sin. We sin against God like what Satan is doing. There is no forgiveness. So there are hundreds and thousands of the references of Bible verses about it. I hope you do understand.